Doing something like pursuing your APR certification, in my opinion, is maintaining the health of your professional career. For myself, when I started back 20 years ago, it was a personal goal that I had set, at some point in my career to obtain certification. I had met people who had gone through the process. They had assured me that it wasn't as difficult as you might think. And it took me about, I think I was 13 years into my career before I really went ahead and started the process of kind of exploring the studying, the testing. And of course, when I did it a few years ago, the process was slightly different. But I think the core process as a professional is very much the same. But it was something that I always felt that I wanted to do, just sort of as a personal goal, partly because there are so few things we can do as public relations professionals to say that we are somehow different, that we are somehow better, that we are somehow more committed to the work that we do. So taking this, going through the process of the exam, to me was partly a way of kind of showing myself that I was more of a professional, kind of like going to seminars, continuing my education, doing things like that. There is also the other side of it. I know PRSA National has shared statistics that show that people actually obtain their APR certification. There is some data that shows that you apparently do make more money, that you're perhaps more sellable in the market. I know personally, when I went through the process in 2003, I went through it with one other guy who was in PRSA with me. And he and I both, after passing the exam, both of us immediately were headhunted away, basically. The next job that I got was 50% higher salary than the position I was in. So using my example as just one of many, I think that's a pretty good testimony to the fact that not only does it increase your earning potential, but I think it also opens up new possibilities for you. I think that there are certain employers who definitely, even in their job postings, will say APR preferred. Now, that's not to say that other people aren't qualified, and people with master's degrees certainly are probably just as skilled, if not more so. But it just felt to me like it was something that kind of sets you apart a little bit. People outside public relations generally don't have any idea what it is, and that doesn't bother me at all. To me, it kind of feels like just something I sort of did for myself. I also get the question a lot about like how difficult is it? You know, like, oh my God, a test, I haven't been to school in 15 years, whatever. It's funny because it's what you're doing every day in your job. So you sit down, it is kind of interesting to sit down with a textbook again and have to go back and read it. But I found it to be a very, very worthwhile process to go through. To sit down and to refresh my memory on the history of public relations and the actual process of strategy and tactics and analysis, all of that was not only interesting, but it was highly relevant to the work that I was doing every single day. So it was kind of fun to go back to work after having studied for a few hours and kind of be like, oh yeah, that's right, this. And it actually enhanced my daily work. So there's that kind of immediate benefit that you get. You're just like reading professional publications or attending seminars or any kind of participation that you do in the PR community, you're continuing to learn. So I consider the process to be very valuable. During the process, you're also in touch with a lot of professionals. So you're reaching out to people, you're asking for advice, you're putting your portfolio together. That process, again, to me, is not a wasted one. Granted, it can be a little scary and a little nerve-wracking, and it does take a little bit of time. But in my mind, I think an investment into your professional career is extremely. The other part that I really think is valuable about APR is that once you obtain it, you are required. They encourage you. Well, they don't encourage you. They require you to maintain your accreditation. So it's not like you take the test, you pass it, and you're done. It's like, and if you're not already doing lots of those extracurricular type activities like volunteering, I work with the students on campus in Madison. I was at Whitewater a few months ago speaking, volunteering in PRSA. All those things you can do to give back everything that you've learned. It's critically important to the industry, and it's a requirement of being an APR to having the certification. So I think that's a very positive element of certification, that you have to, every 3 years you send in a sheet, and they're not real, it's not like a laborious documentation, but they ask you to just list all the different activities that you do. But when people do talk about the benefits. Overall, I would just say basically there is the financial benefit. There's the immediate benefit of just studying again and refreshing. I hadn't cracked a textbook in 13 years, so to go back to that PR Bible and read it again was not a bad thing to do. Obviously, I think it looks very good on your resume to have APR. I think it makes you more sellable and more marketable. But I guess the biggest thing I would say, just kind of in closing, would be, why wouldn't you do it? If there's something that you can probably do fairly easily without a huge investment of time or resources, something that will enhance your career and kind of set you apart as someone who, maybe it's just taking that extra effort, why wouldn't you go ahead and just do that?